Hi, this is Katie and my channel is View from the Middle. So I wanted to talk a little bit about this CBDC that's coming and FedNow. So I'm just blue collar. I deliver packages for a living. I work with blue collar people. I've always been in the blue collar industry. I don't have a super high education and I'm trying to understand it because I keep hearing, oh, there's all these benefits. You know, you're going to instantaneously get your direct deposit from your job. It's going to reduce the fact that people have to take out payday loans because instead of having to wait for your check to hit the bank or get a paycheck and go deposit it, it's going to be readily accessible, right? Which that sounds really nice. Any transaction you do, whether it's paying or getting paid, should be instant. And they have, I mean, there's different ways that they're flipping this, how this is going to be beneficial. The fact that, you know, banking is reduced hours, you know, they're closed on holidays, they're closed on the weekends. They're only basically typically a 9 to 5 institution. And so it restricts the average American. So you hear all that and you're like, wow, you know, we live in a society where we like that instant gratification. We don't like waiting for anything. As simple as like Starbucks, right? I have the app on my phone. I sit there, I've gotten tired. I don't want to wait in line anymore. I order it on my app, pay for it on my app, and I pull up and I grab it either through the window or I walk inside and grab it. I didn't even have to do any interactions with anybody. And I find myself getting irritated if I forget to do that before I leave the home and I have to wait in line. I'm like, we've gotten so where we do want everything so easy, but that's going to come at a cost. And this system concerns me in the sense that there's a lot of different things that we do with cold hard cash. And that's, you know, paying someone to do your yard, paying someone to watch your kids, paying, you know, the kid down the street or your kids to shovel the snow or anything like that. You know, if you think about it, if we eventually, because eventually we will be done with cash, just like we were done with gold, right? They took us off the gold standard. They'll take us off the cash standard and it's all going to be digitalized, which this is what scares me personally. So all of those transactions will now be taxed because they can see it. It has to go through their system. There'll be no ability to give transactions, probably even to me, even to be able to give your kid an allowance for their chores or anything like that. Like they're going to be watching that. They're going to find ways to tax us just like they did when they rolled out, you know, they're trying to implement Venmo and all, you know, PayPal and all those different things that we were using. Then they start saying, well, if you do this much, you have to prove to us like instead of like otherwise it's going to be taxed at, you know, $600 and above or whatever. This CBDC is going to give them the opportunity to tax us even more than they already do. This is to benefit the government, who is not a profit making like agency. They are funded, and all of the money that everybody in a government position is holding is paid by you and me 100%. Like they don't make money any other ways unless they invest our money and they find all these little fun ways to blow it up, or they add money, you know, numbers to the system, which then it increases inflation, which we eventually pay for. Like that is scary. Now, I don't know if anybody heard about what happened in Canada, but truckers went on strike. And I don't know if it was over wages or if it was over mandatory vaccinations. They seized, they put a hold on all of their money and all of their assets, and they basically drowned them out. And I'm not, again, a conspiracy theorist, but that is it's confirmed that they did that. Now, what concerns me is I work for a corporation and I am actually a union worker, which I'm lucky because I have a union that does help fight for me. Now, am I super oh, go unions? No, because I feel like in a lot of ways they've become corporations and they're money making institutions also. And whenever that happens, greed does typically take over. But at least you have two people kind of fighting each other a little bit because they have little different angles and, you know, things to gain. But I'm going up for a contract year coming at the end of July. And they're talking about really fighting for our part-time workers and increasing those wages and fighting for different benefits. And they're saying that this is going to be a year that there's a high potential of a strike. Now, what's concerning is in July, the CBDCs roll out. Now, they are not going to be implemented overnight, so it's not going to impact me this time. But if I was to be a worker that was striking for more pay to try to keep up with inflation or better benefits or anything like that, they could just seize my money. And that is crazy. Think about losing that control and having cash, if you needed it in case of an emergency, or you want to have any ability to do anything, and they just sit there and they take the CBDs, the little technology that's out there, and they just freeze it, just like they would like your bank account. So I hear a lot of people, are like, there's this, we've had some discussions and stuff like that, some of my coworkers, because things are changing and times are, technology is definitely changing times. And Bitcoin has been around since 2009. And there's a lot of people who are like, oh, it's fake, it's phony, it's this, that, or the other. They don't believe in it. Now, I have a lot of mixed feelings, and I'm not going to sit there and tell anybody that like, this is what they need to do, this is what's going to save us or anything like that. I do know that banks are failing, which has been our primary like institution for money. They basically, they took us off the gold standard because they had started adding zeros in a system. And I like to try to even explain it. I don't even fully understand it. Not my deal, but I do understand that when you got taken off the gold standard, it gave them the ability to create as much money as they wanted. And the more money they create, the more money they have in control of themselves, and the more control they have over everybody else. And people are like, oh, it's technology, I don't believe in it. What if an asteroid were to hit? Like, what are you going to do with this money that's online, right? Well, our money is online. Our money's in the banking system. If we were to get hit by an asteroid or we lost power, would you still have that money? How would you prove you had the money in the bank? Does anybody keep the deposit receipts? Does anybody even do deposit receipts? Like, people, that's the only thing to me when I put 2 + 2 together. It's like, those are the same things. You have Bitcoin, that's a technology, and you have banking, which is a technology. Now you have a CBDC that they want to roll out that they completely control, they being the government and the people in power. So, but Bitcoin isn't owned by anybody unless you buy it, and you can put it, like, I always like describe it as like a USB port, right? You can download a file onto a jump drive, and that's your file. That's kind of what you can do with Bitcoin. Bitcoin has, it's called a ledger or cold wallet, whatever you want to call it. Me and my wife did buy one, and you can put that on there. So yeah, if an asteroid hits, eventually technology is going to come back because people are always going to be creating it, right? You still have it. And I'm not saying it's equivalent to gold, but if you want to do it, it's equivalent to what we currently are, which is online banking, going to now an online CBDC that could be completely controlled by the government. Like, maybe swing for the fences and try something different. For me, it's like, I think I'd rather have my money in Bitcoin, where at least I can download it onto a ledger and I can carry it around with me, and they can't freeze that asset. And as long as there's technology, I'm going to be able to put it and connect it back to technology and be able to have that money, where they can hit a switch and I am completely shut off from my money with CBDCs. And honestly, online banking, they are controlling it. They're dictating what banks they're going to allow to crash and what banks they're not going to allow to crash. And that's concerning because they're going to bail out their friends. The people that give them money when they run for their campaigns and stuff like that. Big businesses have been buying our government for decades. And if big businesses are in these big banks, they're going to bail those banks out. Our credit unions and all of our smaller institutions that take care of us, the small guy, they're eventually going to squeeze them out. And it's just looking at the bigger picture. We are very much in a society where we want things easy, and we've gotten so complacent, and we really, I think have lost that drive that we used to have to question things and to challenge things and, to learn about things and, making things better. And depression is rampant in this world. And hell, I take antidepressants. I think most average Americans do at this point, because our way of life doesn't feel great. And we all want more and more handouts, and, we think that makes life better. But when we truly earn something and we truly know about something and we truly fight for something, it does something to the inside of you. It makes you feel good. It makes you feel like you have a purpose. And I know I'm just rambling, but I've been having a hard time sleeping. I'm just thinking about this stuff. And again, I look at everything as an opportunity. What can I learn from this? How can I evolve? And what are my tangibles? What can I change for myself, my family, and hopefully a ripple effect? But I just wanted to share like how I see CBDs affecting us. And that really is giving them the assets that if we push back to freeze our assets, control our assets, and tax our assets. Now, there's a lot more, to it. And I'm sure people are going to have a different flip of it, the perks to that. But that's kind of where I'm sitting. But I do think that the average American that sees Bitcoin and thinks that it's utter BS, I would just strongly encourage you, because we're going to be on a CBD system. And if you think Bitcoin's BS, wait till you see what they're going to do. I appreciate anybody listening, and I hope everybody has a fantastic weekend. Thank you.